Hello and welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty. Hope all you're doing amazing out there and giving yourself so much love and just enjoying yourselves as much as possible. I've been going through a few emails over the past 2 weeks and I've gotten these emails regarding just, I guess, an agreement with just what's been going on as far as what I've been speaking about with, creating our lives and kind of fine tuning our emotional selves, our mental selves to that place that we want to be and helping it to guide us to where we want to go and where we feel the most ourselves at. And I think that that's kind of the root of what this is. It's like, as we start to do these small things that make us feel good, that feel more in line with who we feel closer to understanding who we are, and that brings us, I guess, it brings a lot more comfort. And that's just like the general vibe that I get through this process and what I've gotten from the emails that I've gotten and received. But within these emails, I guess there's a common theme of understanding that this is a process of, understanding yourself and understanding where you want to go, and tuning your dial based on what you're feeling in each situation, in each moment. But there's an issue with these bigger moments, these bigger situations that seem to capture our attention and keep us on that radio station that we don't want to be on. And the common theme that I'm seeing through these emails is that, yes, through these small situations where maybe a brief interaction is something that is unpleasant, it's easy to switch gears and then dismiss it and turn into something that is more pleasant to you, or turn towards something that's more beneficial for you. But it's these more heavy moments, these more significant events in our lives that seem to hold us into that place of that radio station that just keeps playing that music that is terrible. And we find ourselves stuck on that radio station and saying, I hate the song, I hate the song, I hate the song. I wish I can change the station, but not realizing that, or forgetting for a brief moment that we have the power to make that change. But it can be something that's so big, and I guess that's generally what I'm trying to get at with this episode here, is really attacking those bigger things. And in this process, it's really something that it really is a process. It's something that takes time. It takes time with yourself. It takes compassion with yourself and an understanding of the fact that you want to feel happiness, that you want to feel a connection of gratitude, of abundance, of just, enjoyment in life. That's what you want to move towards, and you recognize that, but you're in these situations that it doesn't seem like you're able to get there with whatever situation is occurring. And as we go through our lives and as we try to tackle those smaller situations that get us to recognize where we want to be, we inevitably start to kind of remove those smaller things and then start getting to those bigger things, those bigger issues that have pervaded our lives for years. And those are the things that seem to kind of handicap us and kind of keep us in that place that we don't want to be in. So first and foremost with this idea, it is amazing that you are recognizing that. And I know that you're probably thinking that I feel super shitty, I feel depressed, I'm feeling upset in myself, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling just uncertain of things. And that may not be something that you want to be congratulated for, but you're recognizing that you're in a place that you don't want to be in. Although you already know that, actively recognizing that this right here is a feeling that I don't want to feel, and recognizing those other feelings where you're fine-tuning this dial to go to the station that feels pleasant for you. So now you know what that feeling feels like, and you also recognize this very opposite and strong feeling that's starting to overcome you. Recognizing that I've felt both ends of these. I know what feels good to me. I know the way that I want to feel. And I'm also recognizing the way that I'm feeling right now in this big situation that's causing me to tune away from where I want to be. Recognizing that is something so huge, because now you have the power to recognize that this is on a scale. It is on a scale. It's something this is something pleasing to me. This is something that's not pleasing to me. You've put it on that scale, and now you have something that you're able to work with. Now, 9 times out of 10, we look at the things in our lives, those kind of small instances that we're able to dismiss easily, and we say, like that person didn't smile back or they didn't wave, and you can say, well, that's okay. And then you can get back into your own groove. And we expect that same ease when we go towards tackling these bigger things in our lives, but that's not the case. That's not the case at all. These things are things that we've perpetuated in our lives. These things are things that we've begun to believe with such strength that it is our reality. And we can't easily dismiss that as easy as we can, those small instances that come up, because we've created a belief out of it. So first off, we have to tackle that belief. We have to tackle that belief that we can't be anywhere other than we are. Because sometimes when we're in that place of displeasure, of discomfort, of sadness, of depression, we feel as though that is everything that is. We feel as though that is just how life is, and we feel as though we're stuck there, and we have to just live with that experience. And that is not necessarily the case if you don't believe that to be the case. But many of us do believe that to be the case. Many of us find ourselves in those situations and feel completely overwhelmed with emotion that we feel as though we're trapped in it. And we forget that there was ever this good feeling, or we're striving so hard for that good feeling that it feels even worse trying to strive for it. And the thing about this motion towards that place that you want to be in, that station that you want to be on, it's the breaking down of beliefs. Like you're listening to that radio station, you're saying, this is terrible, I hate this so much, like, how do I change this? I want to change this so bad. You're building up this belief that you're on the station, that you're stuck on the station, and that the station is bad, and you're just reiterating that, and you're keeping that perpetuating. And it's not until we start to break down those beliefs and say, is this a station that I have to be on? Do I have to be on the station? And, what is so upsetting about the situation? And that question is not something that you necessarily have to think about and then start diving into all the explanations of why you're so upset or why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, because that explanation of why, or you explaining and thinking about why, is only going to reinforce that thought even more. The thing in that situation is that you have created a belief about whatever situation is the thing that's plaguing you the most. And the biggest belief and the most harmful belief is a belief that you can't make a change out of it. Everything is changing. I've spoken about change so much in this podcast, and it's something that is pervasive in life, and we have to recognize that we can change situations that we're in. And of course, there are things that we try to apply this to as far as changing, and there are a lot of things within these words that may, like, I want to change this relationship that I have that's so terrible, or I want to change the fact that, this person that I lost is no longer in my life. And we try to change things that aren't necessarily reasonable to be changed. Sometimes, I've spoken about this in the episode about relationships, and it's something that when we interact with other people, when situations happen outside of us, we can't control any of the situations that happen outside of us, but we can control how we react to it and how we respond to it. And that's the biggest thing within this whole situation of tuning your dial to the station that you want to be in. It's not changing any of the outside circumstances, changing what's happening within you. So you have to understand what is within this belief that I have that's causing me so much pain in my life right now. Because there's something to be learned. Whether it's a limiting belief in how you feel about yourself. Do you feel secure in yourself? Do you have confidence and love for yourself? Do you feel as though there are parts of you that aren't being able to be accepted by others? Do you feel as though there are things that you want in your life and things that you want for yourself that aren't being met by others outside of you? And recognize how much of those things are you relinquishing power to things outside of you, rather than you tuning your dial. It's your dial. It's not the world's dial. It's not the dial for everyone else to be on. It's your dial. How much are you tuning your dial towards what you want? Or are you letting people outside your window, outside your car, outside of wherever you are, tune your dial for you? And you feeling stuck in the situation. Many of us do that. Many people do that. That's something that happens in this world that we live in, but it's not something that we have to stay in. And these are things that you've done before. You've gotten out of situations before. You've gotten out of relationships, out of situations that were not pleasing for you. You've done this. You've done it before. You know that you've done this. But this thing that's more difficult, this thing that seems to be plaguing you for longer, this thing that seems to be a condition or something that's just part of your life, it's something that's so present and so there, and it's so hard to tune your dial to the station that you want to in regards to that. But how much of your belief is in line with that belief that I can't do anything about this, that this is just the way that it is, this is just something that, I have to suffer through? This is the conversation that you're having with yourself. That's tuning your dial nowhere. That's keeping your station exactly where it's at. That's listening to that station saying, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible. I wish I can change it, but I can't. This is terrible, and I just have to live with it. We have to recognize that, even in these bigger situations, although it is far removed from that sensation that we love so much and far removed from that station that we love so much, we have to recognize that this is just a station in itself, and that it can be tuned in line with all the other places that we want it to be tuned with. but it has to be smaller steps because you're breaking down something that's so much bigger. It's kind of like when you're tuning your radio station or like on the radio station and you go to like 2 or 3 stations and the same song is playing. It's the same song in the exact same spot, and you're like, why is this song playing on every single station? It's kind of like that. It's like these big situations are almost as if 3 or 4 stations are playing the same thing, and you just have to keep refining it because each station that you tune to, it's going to be a little more static on it, but you're still going to hear the same song. But there's going to be a little more static. It's still going to be there, you can listen to it and it's still there, but as you tune more and more, that static is going to wash away that old song and then start tuning in, maybe some static, but it's going to be start tuning into that song that you like. And you're like, oh yeah, I know this song. I like this song. And as long as you keep moving closer, taking smaller steps to that station that you want to be in, you're going to be at that station. But again, we look at these big plaguing situations in our lives that maybe we've dealt with for years, and we feel as though that is just something that we have to live with, and we don't get to live our full happiness. We don't get to live that fulfilling life that we want to live because there's still these parts of ourselves that we are holding on to, these parts of our belief systems that we're holding on to, but they don't serve us anymore. They don't serve the rest of our lives anymore, and that's why you feel in tune with, I know that I can direct my life in the way, I know that I can start tuning my dial in the direction that I want to go in, but there's just this one thing that keeps bothering me. There's just this one situation that's just there. You're not living a fulfilling life if your life isn't full, if it's not full of the things that you want it to be full of. So you're noticing this more and more, this bigger thing in your life, as these other things start clearing away, as maybe relationships start getting a little bit better, maybe as you start having more love for yourself and start, just things will start flowing for you. You're going to start noticing these big situations a lot more. But as you take those small steps, maybe it's just, this is something that, maybe major depression is something that is very real. It's something that I struggle with. I've spoken to someone on this podcast, and I chose, alcohol to numb away that. And it was something that was more or less drowning out the sound. It's kind of like when you use substances instead of really addressing these things. It's kind of like you're on a radio station, your radio is tuned to a certain station in the car, and the music is on, but you decide to turn on your cell phone and play some music on your phone really loud. Now, you can hear the music on your phone, but it's only drowning out the sound of what's on the radio station. Like, you're still tuned into the radio station, you're just drowning it out with something else. And that's something I noticed within my own journey of, trying to suppress certain emotions with substances. It's not something that works. But I started to notice certain things where I wasn't crying all the time. I wasn't depressed, or I wasn't feeling the depression as strong in every moment. Like, maybe I went out to eat and I ate some really good food and I was like, oh, this is so good. But then I'd start to think about, why can't life be this good? And the next thing I know, I'm crying into this plate. But for that moment, for that brief moment, I was like, oh, this food is so good. It's like I tuned my dial to something. I felt something other than that immense pain and sadness. And that's something that we have to do with these big situations that we have. We have to just look at something for the briefest moment. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful and warm outside. Or I'm so happy that, it's a holiday and I don't have to go to work today. It's like maybe just like the smallest things, just to remind us that we're not stuck in this radio station. That maybe for the brief moment we went through some static and we went between towers and the station changed for a moment, just for a quick moment. And it was like, oh, that song, I love that song. And then it went back to the old station. But remind yourself that you just heard a different song, that station did change for a brief moment. This thing that seems so big and so present and right there and always there, and for years and years and years I've been dealing with this, struggling with this. Yet there are these brief moments that I'm on a different station, that this chronic pain that I'm feeling, this chronic sadness that I'm feeling, this chronic life that I'm experiencing that's unpleasant for me, I recognize that there are brief moments of relief, brief moments where I don't notice the pain, brief moments where things are okay. And although it's only for a few seconds, only for a minute, and then things go back to the terrible situation that it was, for that brief moment, it was okay. And as you notice those brief moments more and more, and as you try to direct and fine-tune those brief moments more and more, because that's what we do when we try to use substances to diminish things. Substances just work faster. They, maybe you can drink and then easily forget about that, but notice that you're just turning on that radio on your phone and trying to drown out the radio that's on the station itself. And of course, it can provide temporary relief, but unless you keep your cell phone on, and your cell phone's going to die at some point, unless you keep your cell phone on, that radio station's still going to be tuned to where it's at. So you're going to have to address it at one point or another. You're not tuning anything when you're drowning it out. You're just drowning it out. So notice when you are tuning it, because you are tuning it in small moments. When you're like, some Thai food would be really good. Or, I would love to just go to the beach. Or I'd love to just, watch this show on Netflix. Or this new movie, or this new stand-up, or whatever it is. There's this brief moment where we can choose something that's pleasurable for us, despite this chronic thing that we're dealing with. And then for that hour, for that 30 minutes, or for whatever time period, we're indulging in that essence of something that's pleasurable. That thing that's bothering us, that chronic thing that we have attributed to being years in the process of struggling with, for that hour and a half, for that 30 minutes, for that 1 minute, for that 30 seconds, you weren't feeling it. You weren't immersed in it. You saw light in the darkness. Remind yourself of that light that you see. Remind yourself of the station that you're on, even when you're in these difficult experiences. And give yourself compassion. Know that this is something that's heavy. This is a belief that you're breaking down and something that you've held for so long. Don't say that, yeah, these other things in my life, I've been able to sway away so easily. I've been able to tune back to where I want to be so easily. And I'm so frustrated at myself for not being able to get it in this part of my life. It's okay. It's okay. Give yourself love. And know that this is just part of that process. This is part of you understanding yourself more. This is starting to realize where it's like, I'm realizing that I'm tuned on this radio station for longer than I want to be, because I'm noticing that this other station is really nice. Yet this has been a station that's been kind of playing in the background all my life. But now I feel as though I want to choose a different station. I want to start moving in a different direction. And these other parts of my life, they're fine and dandy, and I know that I'm going to give compassion to this part of my life that maybe I've been holding on to longer, that maybe has more of me inside of it that's holding on to it than I even am aware of. And as I break that down, as I start to give myself love in the situation, as I start to give myself compassion, as I tune the station to where I want to be, I start to understand and uncover more parts of myself, more strengths within myself, more things that are going to help me be even more in alignment with everything that I thought I wanted and more. Because as we start to break down these parts of ourselves and free ourselves from the shackles of these beliefs that we've had, we start to understand ourselves more. We start to see the world in a way that is much brighter than what we had imagined. Because you see the joy, you see the station that you're on, you're like, yes, this is what I want, this is what I want. And then there are these other parts of your life that aren't really there yet. When you get those parts of your life to that station, it's going to be so much better. It's kind of like you plan for a vacation and you're like, I'm going to go to the beach for a weekend or go for a week and travel and do whatever you're thinking about doing. You're planning this trip and you're like very excited about it. That excitement and that love that you have for that trip is nothing in comparison to the actual experience of being there and laying on that beach and enjoying the sunshine and enjoying like all the inclusive things that are with that vacation. The thought of it is something that is amazing, but experiencing it and being in it is something that's so much more. So as we start to bring ourselves in these situations, in these dark parts of our lives, to that place of that station that we wanted to be at, everything that we imagined that it would feel like will be there and more, because it's us actually experiencing it fully without those shackles, without the need to say, oh, is my station the wrong way? You've programmed your radio station to where no matter what button you push in your car, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 is going to be on your station. And maybe one station has a little static and you have to fine tune that more. At least you notice it. Because as you fine tune these other parts of your life, you're going to notice I'm great right now. And then when you don't feel great, you're going to notice that too. And it's going to feel not great. It's going to feel actually really, really bad. But notice that you have the dial in your hand and that you are able to tune it to whatever you want it to do. But as long as you hold on to the knowing that you can do that, don't slip back into the belief that you are weak or that you are unable to change your life. Remove that belief and remove it slowly with love and compassion, but remove it nonetheless because it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve what you want. It doesn't serve the love, the compassion, the connection, the strength, the success, the abundance that you want in your life. It doesn't serve that. So let them go. but give yourself love in the process, because that is something that you want no matter what. You want that love. You want to love in your life. You want love in your success. You want love in your occupation. You want love in your abundance. You want love in all of that. So give yourself love in even these times that you're struggling. Give yourself love, because that's your tether towards that tuning place that you want to be in. Give yourself love, because otherwise, how do you know what you're tuning towards? Keep love for yourself even in these moments of struggle, and take those small steps to find the place that you want to be. Something I was listening to, it was an example speaking about how in life, there are so many things that we try to plan for, so many things that we try to really just say, like, I want this, and like have that be like where we're trying to set our eyes on. Yet all these obstacles start coming up, and we're somewhat blindsided by them, because we're trying to reach this place and we feel as though that's the path to get there, and everything is set. But as we try to go on that path, we run into these walls and we realize, wait a minute, I can still get to that destination, but it's not the path that I thought it was going to be on. And the example, what this guy was saying, he was saying, just like you may plan a cross-country trip, let's say from the East Coast to the West Coast, and it's dark the entire time that you're on this trip. You can make it from the East Coast to the West Coast in the complete darkness with only your headlights in your car that shine 200 to 300 feet in front of you. So as you're driving through the darkness on these roads, these windy roads, or these roads with turns and all this other stuff, all you see is 200 to 300 feet in front of you. Yet you can get from one side of the country to the other side of the country only seeing 200 or 300 feet in front of you. You don't have to see the entire path. You don't have to see the entire way to the other side of the coast. Your headlights don't have to beam that far. They only have to beam for the 200 to 300 feet that's in front of you. And know that the next 200 to 300 feet will be illuminated for you. But if we're trying to tune our dial based on what's at the end of it, then we're going to run into a lot of challenges as we're trying to get there. Tune your dial slowly but surely. Take small steps to get to that place that you want to be, and give yourself compassion along the way, and have faith that you will bring yourself to illuminate that next 200 to 300 feet when you get to that next place. Allow yourself to take your old beliefs, the ones that aren't conducive towards the things that you want, and shift them to beliefs of empowerment, of the ability to do the things that you want for yourself, to control the things that you want in your life, and have the things that you want in your life. And I say control very loosely, because control is something that is forceful. And as we try to force it, it's kind of like trying to force the path to the other side of the country. You can't force that path. You're going to run across obstacles. So just allow the process to unfold in front of you, and know that you're going to do the best that you can to tune yourself to the place that you want to be. And again, I know that's something that can be so much easier said than done, especially when dealing with things with so much behind it. I know it's so much, but it's only one step at a time. It's only one small pleasurable experience that you're trying to look for. And a pleasurable experience can even be asking yourself that question: do I need to feel this right now? You don't even have to change how you're feeling. Just asking that question, do I need to feel this right now? That gives you so much more power, because that's stepping yourself outside of the situation just for a moment. Maybe you're still feeling it. Maybe you're still feeling things, but there's a question that's coming from outside of this and saying, do I need to feel this right now? Even that can be a small step that illuminates the next path. Give yourself love. Give yourself compassion in this process. It's your life and it's your radio station. Find out where you want to be tuned into, and slowly tune yourself to that place. It's a process. Give yourself love during the process. So yeah, that's kind of just been my thoughts as far as just these emails that have come in speaking to this idea of tuning it in. And we're going to speak more about this because this is our lives. This is what life is. This is what our lives are. And we want to live the best life that we can. And doing that is tuning this dial, so to speak. And this is just a metaphor, the tuning of the dial. And I hope that it's a clear enough metaphor that we can apply this to what it needs to be applied to. But, as I kind of reflect on this experience and my own experiences tuning my own dial, I'm recognizing that there are layers of things. And as I go through my own experiences of deep emotion where, literally crying every day while I'm eating, while I'm drinking, while I'm doing different things, it's like a pervasive sadness. Like I know that, and it's like I know how difficult it can be to move and tune your dial outside of that. But it only takes these small moments, these small remembrances saying, oh yeah, I remember I was laughing yesterday. What was that about? And just the briefest moments. So as we deal with these bigger things in our lives, know that you still have just as much control to tune your dial to that, just as you have to dismiss someone that is giving you a weird look in the grocery store or something. It's like it's a bigger issue, but it's something that we still have control over and we still have the power to do. So give yourself love and compassion during that process, and know that you are doing amazing work with yourself as you love yourself and as you give yourself that time and that space to tune your dial to where you want it to be. So yeah, that's all I really have with this idea. If you have any thoughts, questions, or anything that you'd like to add to this topic, you can send that to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. You can join any of the social media groups: Instagram, everything.sunpodcast, Twitter @everysunpodcast, or the Facebook group @everysunpodcast as well. So yeah, that's all I got for this. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you next time.